All right, let's dive into it here. State Senate Minority Leader Harold Jones, always appreciate you taking the time to chat with us on what I know is a busy day today.
Absolutely, certainly a busy day. Crossover day is always a busy day, no doubt about it.
On the calendar, it's not officially the halfway point, but it is metaphorically and emotionally the midpoint of the session, I think a lot of people would say.
Absolutely, emotionally it does seem that way, no doubt.
We're talking at about 4:35 right now on crossover day. As you look at the state of play right now, what is your caucus's, what are Senate Democrats' top priorities to get passed today?
Well, some of our top priorities, unfortunately, have not been passed, and that was actually SB 34 and SB 94, which dealt with Consumer Utility Council and also, of course, SB 34 data centers, trying to make sure they pay their own way. So unfortunately, they missed the cut today so far, but of course, things never completely did, but today they have missed the cut, unfortunately.
Let me ask you can I ask one follow-up, Mike?
Yes.
Let me ask you one follow-up here. You mentioned something, a little inside baseball, but I think it's important. You say, the bills are never totally dead.
Yes, correct.
What does that mean to somebody who maybe is not so familiar with the parliamentary rules
absolutely.
here?
So what can happen is you have House bills that can come over, and sometimes if they're within the same code section, you actually can add a bill to that. So you have a House bill that comes over, you can add something to it, and that could be a bill that supposedly was dead at one point in time. So a bill is never really dead till 11:59 on sign or die.
But it helps if they cross over today.
It helps if they cross over today, no doubt.
One of the things we've heard from Republican lawmakers and Democratic lawmakers, you and I have talked about this, the focus on affordability. Everybody's talking about it. What are Senate Democrats' proposals to achieve that goal and make living in Georgia cheaper and more affordable?
Well, one of the things we already talked about was the SB 34 dealing with data centers. Another one is also going to be with housing, trying to actually stop a lot of your big corporations from taking over housing. So that's something that we've been talking about too. So that's another area that we've been looking at. And
that's out-of-state landlords you're talking about?
That's exactly right, out-of-state landlords coming in. And then of course also one thing that actually is in the budget this year that we've been talking about for years, and that is actually needs-based scholarships. So that was one that we've been pushing for years. To actually take that as a victory.
When Governor Kemp announced that at the State of the State, Democrats and Republicans were excited about that.
Democrats and Republicans were standing up, no doubt, and we certainly stood up because it's something we have been pushing, especially Senator Nan Orrick have been pushing that for many, many years. And so really our jaws kind of dropped when he said that, but it was a good jaw drop, quite frankly, and we enjoyed it.
Let's look in the future now. I know we're talking about 4:30 on crossover day in the afternoon. There's more action to come tonight. Looking ahead now, after crossover day, it's the sprint to sine die. What do you see as Senate Democrats' top priority headed into the back chunk of the session?
I think one of our top priorities is to make sure whatever House bills come over or Senate bills that did not pass this time do not, as far as voting is concerned, do not get any legs, because we're always concerned about voting suppression. So right now, one of our big things is to make sure none of those voting bills actually get through. So that's something that we'll be looking for. We had to see what the House maybe is bringing over. We actually was able to defeat one today, which dealt with changing 5 district attorneys to nonpartisan. So we actually was able to get that defeated today. We'll see if that comes back up. We have a motion for reconsideration with that today, but we'll be looking closely at any kind of voting bills that's going to be restricting voting.
And what in particular functionally are you worried about that could, in your view, make it harder to access the ballot?
Absolutely. One of the things that's out there right now is actually restricting advanced voting as far as putting you to a certain precinct. Right now, within your county, you can go anywhere you want to do advanced voting. There's bills out there to say, no, we're going to restrict you to a certain precinct. That's going to cause a lot of confusion with people, and it's actually going to cause people not to go to the polls, and we want every voter who wants to vote to be able to go vote.
I want to ask you this last question here. It's no secret Democrats are the minority party in the state Senate as well as the state House. Do you see your role in leadership and your party's role in the Senate as we head into sine die now more as one trying to block bills that you don't like, or more as one trying to advance and pass bills that you do like?
It's a little bit of a combination of both. I think at this point in time, we know what bills are going to get through. And so we're hoping to get some Democratic bills through today, still going into the night. But at the same time, we have an obligation and a role to make sure bills we think are going to hurt Georgians does not get through. So quite frankly, after tonight, most likely will certainly be more of a blocking pattern than necessarily a proactive pattern, unfortunately. But that's the cost of being a minority. We got to change that in November.
You bring that up. I always say last question, but you open the door to it. It is a midterm year.
Yes.
How does what happens under the Gold Dome for the remainder of this session impact your party's hopes for November?
I think what you're going to find is the messaging that goes forward from this point forward. What was and was not done is going to be key, and how we message that and tell the voters this is why you ought to put us into power. This is why you actually ought to put us as the majority and also within the governor's seat too. So that's going to be the key. The messaging that comes out of this is going to be very key.
Minority Leader Harold Jones, thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you.